Announcements, none. Papers have been laid. Questions?
Honourable Leader of the Opposition, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've given notice of the following private notice questions addressed to Dr. the Honourable Prime Minister, Minister of Defence, Home Affairs and External Communications, Minister of Finance, Minister for Rodrigues and Outer Islands. Whether in the light of the changes or policy reversals in relation to the measures announced in the 2026-2027 budget speech, he will state whether a revised macroeconomic and fiscal framework will be tabled and explain how such changes will be reconciled with the sum appropriated in the Appropriation 2026-2027 Act. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Honourable Prime Minister.
Yes, Madam Speaker. As the House is aware, the budget contains more than 500 measures, and only one of these measures is being reversed, because in the question it says policy reversals. Only one of these measures is being reversed. It is quite normal that there may be budgetary measures every year that do not get to be implemented or modified. This is sometimes due to conjunctural situations or deliberate policy actions. The impact on the budget of such occurrences is generally summed up in the budget outturned at the end of the fiscal year. Madam Speaker, government has decided not to go ahead with the means test in the pension reform announced in the budget for 2026-2027. In the macroeconomic and fiscal framework, it was initially estimated that the budget deficit would be 3.7% and the public sector debt would be 85.6% of GDP. With the removal of the means test, it is estimated that there will be an additional spending of 6.2 billion rupees on state age pension, which represents 0.7% of GDP for the period January 2027 to June 2027. The full year impact would have been more than 1.5% of GDP if there were no mitigation measures that are being implemented. As I stated, Madam Speaker, in my reply to the private notice question of the 25th of June 2026, government has already initiated a number of measures to make up for the higher expenditure expected from the removal of the means testing of the state for the state age pension and bring down the budget deficit and public sector debt. These include, first, a committee chaired by the Secretary to the Cabinet has been established to look into the reprioritization of the implementation of the capital projects while ensuring that economic growth is not adversely affected. The committee has already started its work. Second, another committee has been set up at the level of the Ministry of Finance, chaired by a Deputy Financial Secretary, to examine the expenditure of each ministry and to ensure that we act on the findings of the Director of Audit Report. A number of meetings have already been held with accounting officers of several ministries in areas where expenditure could be rationalized or being identified. Third, I will myself chair a steering committee on public sector efficiency to identify areas of duplication, inefficiency, and wastage. Every ministry and department will have to submit to that committee a concrete plan to improve efficiency without compromising delivery service. Fourth, the Ministry of Finance has set up a high-level committee to fundamentally review our overall tax system with a view to enhancing its fairness, efficiency, and international competitiveness. The committee, comprising of tax specialists supported by the IMF and other international experts, including Dr. Philip Baker, a renowned authority on taxation, who is also currently working with the MRA, they will start work next month. We expect them to implement the measures shortly upon completion of the review exercise, and we can expect a positive impact on revenues. Fifth, the Ministry of Finance is exploring the disposal of selected non-strategic assets, as well as the potential listing of certain state-owned enterprises on the stock exchange with a view to unlocking value and monetizing its shareholdings. 6, with regard to the CSG contributions, to facilitate a smooth transition, consideration will be given to continuing to credit part of the CSG contributions to the consolidated fund for a limited period before this practice is phased out entirely. Madam Speaker, as the House may be aware, the IMF carried out its annual Article 4 consultation mission to Mauritius in April and May of this year. That is, before the presentation of the budget. The Ministry of Finance has been in continuous discussion with the IMF after the presentation of the budget. In a spirit of transparency which characterizes this government, the IMF has been fully briefed on the fiscal impact and the measures being taken to mitigate the impact on the budget. The Executive Board of the IMF has already approved the Article 4 consultation staff report, and the report will be released, I believe, shortly. Moody's has also been briefed on the budget and fiscal policy stance of government. In fact, I must state, Madam Speaker, that Moody's has released an issue comment on the 26th of June 2026, whereby they noted, and I quote, fiscal consolidation progresses under the 2027 budget, risk of policy drift persist, unquote. The full credit rating assessment is expected in 6 months' time. Madam Speaker, with regard to whether a revised macroeconomic and fiscal framework will be tabled, let me reiterate that the budget process already provides for a budget outturn at the end of the fiscal year, which accounts fully for such circumstances. As the House is aware, the Appropriation Act of 2027 has been approved, wherein a total sum of 232.4 billion rupees have been voted. In the performance-based budget estimates of 2026-2027, an amount of 30.1 billion has been provided for payment of the basic retirement pension for the period July to December 2026. And 20.5 billion has been earmarked for payment of the stage age pension for the period January to June 2027. With the removal of the means test, the exact amount that will be required for payment of the state age pension is not known at this stage, because we do not know the exact number of future pensioners who will elect to draw the pension at the age of 60. The budget process also provides for the presentation of supplementary appropriation bill, if required, in line with the provisions of Section 105 of the Constitution under any head of expenditure. As such, there is no need for a change in the total appropriation.
Your first supplementary, Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, before I start my supplementary questions, let me wish the Honourable Prime Minister a happy birthday. Now, with regard to the forthcoming finance bill, the Honourable Prime Minister is aware that this House voted the Appropriation Act based on a specific set of fiscal assumptions. May I ask the Honourable Prime Minister whether through the forthcoming finance bill, this House is being asked to legislate for a completely different budget, thereby rendering the original parliamentary scrutiny of the appropriation bill a mere rubber stamp exercise?
We answered that question last time, and Speaker, you gave a ruling on this. There are 3 ways when you have additional expenses. And again, I must stress that there's only one change in the budget. That is the means test. There are three ways of doing this. One, from the contingency and reserves. I think you should know this. Or else savings during the year. For example, capital budget is never 100% spent. It is roughly, depending, around 70%. And thirdly, there will be a supplementary appropriation bill if need be.
Second question.
Yes, at paragraph 283 of the appropriation bill, Madam Speaker, government has included the receipts of the Chagos deal. Et, il faut le reconnaître, cela a gonflé les revenus de l'État. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House why this sum has again been included in this year's budget when his government has failed to finalize the deal with the UK government?
that we didn't finalize an agreement has been signed with the UK, to remind you. An agreement has been signed, they haven't
Let
gone
him
through the
answer.
process in the UK. We are very confident, Madam Speaker, that this will happen.
Next, third question.
Yeah, I'll put the question again. Will the Honorable Prime Minister circulate another appropriation bill, or will government present a supplementary budget or revise estimates to the House rather than attempting to bury these fiscal alterations within the forthcoming financial bill?
I'll just explain, Madam Speaker. There are three ways of doing this, and I'll just give the three ways that can be done.
Okay, he chose one way.
Madam Speaker, there are a lot of confusions concerning the pension reforms. Can the Honorable Prime Minister confirm to this House today what will be the age of eligibility of the BRP as at 1st September 2029?
Say many times. that
29.
We have returned it to the age of 60. That was in the budget. It's not a new measure. It was in the budget.
Can you confirm?
Yes, as you said.
Now, Madam Speaker, there is a discrimination or injustice on the age of eligibility for the beneficiaries of the BRP. Will government backpay those who did not benefit their pension due to the 2025-2026 budget measure?
I'm not quite sure what back pay you want me to implement. Which back pay?
Madam
Please
Speaker,
explain. Please
Yeah,
explain.
because when they have brought forward those reforms, ces gens-là n'ont pas pu avoir la pension qu'ils auraient dû avoir. So, est-ce que l'État va les rembourser?
It's actually not true what he's saying, Madam Speaker. What we have done, we have given the option now. There's an option of you taking your pension at the age of 60.
Talking about the year 2025, 2026 measure, Madam Speaker. Now, refer to the table that was presented during the press conference of Honorable Soubron. The sum of 13,107 has been announced for a 60-year-old person to benefit this amount in 2029, whereas a 60-year-old person will benefit an amount of 14,490 in September 2026. Do you find that normal, Honorable Prime Minister?
It is normal in the sense that you have a sliding scale. If you want to opt to take your option, to take that option, to take your pension at the age of 60, obviously you will have a slightly reduced pension because you're taking it 5 years earlier. That is all.
It's not all. Somebody will have 13,107 in 2029, whereas somebody in September this year, he will have 14,419. Now, can the Honorable Prime Minister...
Exactly, let me
Let
explain.
him-
That is exactly the transition period. You have opted to take the pension earlier. You get a sum which is 14,490 in September 2026, and there's a sliding scale.
So you
Your
get a lesser
question.
amount in 3 years' time. Now, can the Honorable Prime Minister inform the House whether he has been apprised of the massive legitimate outcry of citizens against his pension reforms, as demonstrated publicly this past Saturday? Will government backpedal completely on the pension reforms altogether?
Question of doing that. Madam Speaker, we all know, and they know, that the basic retirement pension is unsustainable in its actual form. Now they're promising when they come, if ever they come back, they will continue on the same path of unsustainability, which brought the country in the financial abyss we find ourselves today. Now, I can't understand. They know it's unsustainable, but they want no reform. They're against mistesting. So the question is, how will they pay? They will increase VAT on everyone. That's a possibility that they can do. They will increase taxes and further penalize the middle class. They will make health not free anymore. They will start cutting. You know, the budget for education, for health, is over 18 billion rupees at the moment. It will increase. That for education is 23 billion rupees. Where will you do the cutting? Cut the costs? Where?
Let me put a
Your
direct
next
question
question,
to the
yes.
Prime Minister then. The Alliance du Changement promised an old age pension of 21,500 rupees. If now the Honourable Prime Minister maintains that a previous system was known to be unsustainable, then on what grounds, may I ask the Honourable Prime Minister, was this specific figure of 21,500 promised to the nation?
Madam Speaker, unfortunately in Mauritius, it's not like in the UK. In the UK, the opposition are given all the figures of what is being done. Here we don't do this. Okay. Now, who knew? Who knew at the time? I don't know whether you knew. Whether you were in cabinet, you knew that the monthly interest payment on the debt is actually 2.5 billion rupees. And now will be more. That is without capital payment. Capital repayment will be around 30.1, I think. No, sorry, interest payment in total per year for the financial year 2026-27 will be 30.1 billion rupees. And on that, you have the interest which you have to pay, plus the capital.
Next question.
Yes, thank you. Will the Honourable Prime Minister confirm whether he intends to make the determination of SAP increases binding by law requiring a majority in Parliament? As recommended by the Committee of Experts.
Madam Speaker, every measure comes to the House to be voted.
Next question.
Not reply to my question, Madam Speaker. Earlier, the Honourable Prime Minister stated that he has set up a committee to explore the possibility of disposal of selected non-strategic assets. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House which assets have been identified and whether workers will be laid off when those assets will be disposed?
Madam Speaker, if you listen to them, they want to do nothing, leave things as they are, and continue the mess that they put this country into. I explained that there's a committee which is looking at what assets we could possibly dispose of.
Okay, your friend is asking. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker.
I'm just looking at the time.
Now, may I ask the Honourable Prime Minister whether he will confirm that by materially altering this year's budget, after the Appropriation Act has been passed, without providing the House with a revised fiscal framework, he has compromised the transparency of the budgetary process and the confidence of this House in the government's fiscal management?
Madam Speaker, I explained at the very beginning that in every budget, it happens that you decide to change a policy because sometimes the conjunctural situation, or you decide to deliberate policy action that you want to change. That happens. So I've explained such occurrences generally summed up in the budget outturn at the end of the fiscal year. I don't understand why you asked the question again.
Okay, Honourable Duval.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yeah, as the Prime Minister, with regards to the budget that was the sums appropriated for the payment of the pension for this financial year, 2026-27, we see from the appropriation there were 30 billion for the BRP to phase out, and as from January next year, 20 billion for the SAP under the means testing. May I know the 20 billions that was budgeted? How many persons, what percentage of those eligible were estimated to take their retirement pension at the age of 60?
I'll explain, Madam Speaker, we can have an approximate, we cannot. Maybe everybody will want to take the pension at 60. We don't know at this stage.
Yes, yes.
That is the question. There was an estimate. It was based on 20 billion. So what is the estimate now? That is the question. You've done it for for this financial year. What is the estimate now that everybody is surely going to take it at 60? How much sums? What is the
No,
shortfall?
This is not what the Prime Minister said. In any case, it's an estimate. Prime Minister,
I just explained to you. You keep asking the same question, or you get the same answer.
don't,
There was an estimate of 20 billion for the SAP. If you use that same logic, what would be the estimate for this now? This is a simple question.
Because we cannot say, because we do not know how many people will actually opt for the 60 years budget. That is the problem.
okay, you want a last question?
Yeah, last question, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, all major trade unions have stated that the next move, Honorable Prime Minister, will be a nationwide general strike in the country. Now, knowing well that this will paralyze our economy and disrupt essential services of this country, will the Honorable Prime Minister consider suspending the finance bill first and engage in genuine tripartite social dialogue, or is he prepared, Madam Speaker, to plunge the country into economic paralysis to protect his pride and admitting
Don't
his
impute-
original
don't
budget was
No.
fundamentally
Don't impute
flawed, Madam
motives.
Speaker?
You're not allowed to impute motives. His pride. That is imputing motives. Yes.
First of all, I did not hear the union say that they want to suspend the finance bill. You were saying that. I didn't hear the union say that. And secondly, there will be no change from what I have said. And that's it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Now we go to questions. Questions. PNQT, please. Yes. I don't understand.